John, I'll start with you. Are there any major surprises in there for you, or are you surprised with the overall picture of the list?
I think the interesting thing about it, there are all these names, all these people who you wouldn't really have heard of, you wouldn't have seen their faces before, but they hold so much sway within the industry. That's the kind of fascinating thing about the list.
Yeah, I think you're right. Dan?
Well, it's interesting how the American-based this list is, which probably doesn't reflect so well on the sport in Britain and Europe. But it's just the way it is, and that's where the money is, that's where the power is, or the influence is in world boxing today. It's in North America.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've both made good points. I think, John, with regards to not seeing the faces, it's amazing that all this work goes on behind the scenes, and you know, it's such power, such influence, and people, you know, generally the general public don't know who these people are. So hopefully they'll learn a few things from the power list. So also last weekend, we were in Texas. We covered the fight with Andy Lee and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Dan, what did you take out of that fight and the outcome?
Well, what I think is that Chavez is definitely improving, and he's improving at a pretty fast rate as well. I mean, he's always been regarded as a mollycoddle boxer who's traded off his father's name. He had some talent, but he's very carefully matched for a long time. But clearly, once he can focus on training, get away from out-of-the-ring problems, he's got an outstanding trainer in Freddie Roach. Once he actually dedicates himself to training, he is a good fighter, and he can become a really even better fighter.
Yeah, John?
I think the alarming thing about the fight is all the controversy that has gone on outside of the ring. Even with this time, you know, Manny Stewart, Andy Lee's trainer, is raising queries about whether Chavez Jr. Delivered his urine sample for a drugs test, and these are, you know, those kind of issues really overshadow or certainly colour what went on in the fight, and that's more of a cause for concern.
Yeah, I mean, the Texas Commission now have gone on record saying that he has provided samples, but you're right. I mean, it seems to be a week doesn't go past without some kind of controversy or some kind of conspiracy theory going along. I think obviously it looks like Chavez is heading towards a fight with Sergio Martinez, who is almost, or you know, surely undoubtedly the world's #1 middleweight. Dan, do you think Chavez is ready for Martinez?
Before the Lee fight, I would have said no, but after that fight, I now think yes, he could be ready, as ready as he'll ever be. Given that his body is clearly growing, it's going to be harder and harder to make middleweight after this year. In a year or two's time, it might be super middleweight or light heavyweight. So I can see why they're taking the fight now. It has to be now or never, because he can definitely make the weight now, and after this year, probably not. So now's the time.
Sure. John?
Yeah, I mean, we're all talking about how big and strong he is at middleweight, and I suppose we all know how skillful Martinez is, so that's the advantage he needs to bring while he can still make the weight.
With regards to levels, we've seen Darren Barker and Matthew Macklin both give Martinez a good fight. Do you think Chavez is better than Macklin and Barker, and therefore might give him a better fight, John?
He's certainly got that added physicality, and you know, Martinez will come up from light middleweight, so that could be the factor that he's so big at the weight in terms of, you know, in terms of the skills. Yeah, he's a brutal body puncher, isn't he? That's got to help him. It's hard to say whether he's a kind of a better boxer than Barker or Macklin.
That could present Martinez with a different set of problems from people like Darren Barker or Matthew Macklin, or even the Martin Murray type fighter, who are more sort of traditional European style of boxer. And
of course, Martinez isn't getting any younger, so the time might be right for Chavez to make his move. On the flip side, Andy Lee now becomes available for what feasibly would be a host of big fights with the likes of Martin Murray, Darren Barker, Matthew Macklin. How do you think he fits into that mix?
I think he makes it even more exciting. We've all been talking about having these three, you know, great middleweights we'd like to see fight each other. Now throw Andy Lee in there. I mean, how great would it be to see Lee Macklin in Ireland? You know, Barker and Murray can sort things out in England, and the winners of those two fights fight each other.
Yeah, a small tournament would be nice, wouldn't it? Settle who's the best.
Yeah, I think Andy Lee beat Darren Barker at the European Championships as an amateur years and years ago, when Barker was very young and new to the weight. So it'd be interesting to see what would happen if they had a rematch, you know, in the next few months.
Sure, definitely. Okay. Plenty to debate. There's lots online where you can join us. You can join us at Facebook and Twitter, and you can join us on the new forums at www.boxingnewsonline.net. One thing that I've been rather outspoken about this week is the standard of opposition for Tyson Fury. Vinny Maddaloni's the man coming in at the start of July to face him. I query whether the Boxing Board of Control are doing the right thing by allowing the shot-worn American to come in. Dan, what's your take on Maddaloni for Fury?
It does seem a pretty disappointing choice of opponent, because from Fury's point of view, you want to see him at least progress and meet slightly better opponents than last time. He's meeting the same sort of level of opponent over and over again. It can't be good for his development as a fighter. You need to step up your opposition sooner or later. And Maddaloni just isn't really a step up from what Fury's been fighting over the last few months.
Sure. John, how would you chart Fury's progress with someone, say, like David Price's?
Yeah, well, I mean, David Price certainly seems to be on a clear upward trajectory, you know, going up through the levels. It's a bizarre thing with Fury. I mean, he fought Chisora on Channel 5 for the British title, and now he seems to be certainly moving downwards in terms of the level of his opposition. I'm not quite sure why you would want to do that.
It's funny when you look at that fight in Chisora and Fury and you see how they've both gone on from that fight. The winner sort of has almost, if anything, lost stock, and the loser's gone up in most people's opinion in terms of being, you know, in terms of being a boxer and a world-class boxer at that.